we call it what we call like disruptive technologies, exponential technologies. It used to happen like once in a decade, right? For example, in 2000, internet happened, right? And then, I mean, it took another 7 to 8 years to mobile happen, right? And then cloud technologies came up somewhere around 2012, 2013, right? And then, I mean, all sorts of stuff, IoT, AI, everything became, popular and mainstream and whatnot. With every such new technology, the businesses, right? So they essentially had to change themselves, so, and that's why it is called disruptive technologies, right? In the new era, all these technologies are going to contribute in a way that the business will happen, right? So when internet happened, it's just the e-commerce happened. But now, with all the availability of these new technologies, the whole business processes, both internal as well as external, to enterprise, that's going to change, and it is actually changing, right? In IBM, this is what we call intelligent workflow, right? So where all these different technologies are going to contribute or change, right, the steps of the workflow it is as it is. I would say that if you look at the history of AI, right, so there are multiple AI summers and AI winters happen, right? So at times, people become really, really hopeful about AI, which is followed by all the disappointments and fears that usually came. In last 3 4 years, obviously the AI technologies have evolved a lot and matured a lot. But and I mean, there is definitely lot of changes that happen. Question is whether that is impactful enough or not. My assessment, and I believe that's what our enterprise IBM, right, so also believes in, that we are still scratching the surface. In 2014, I wrote IBM's first point of view on AI, and we actually at that point of time we used that phrase called "we are just scratching the surface." To be honest, in 9 years down the line, we are still scratching the surface, right? So we are yet to realize, monetize all the potentials of AI. Possibly it will take another decade. That's what our CEO and chairman thinks, Arvind Krishna thinks. So I don't know whether it is 10 years or whether it is 5 years or another 20 years, but it's going to change for sure. There are so many things that we have, so many breakthroughs that we are waiting to happen, right? For example, right, the general AI, right? General intelligence kind of AI that we are waiting for. When the AI models will not be built for just a single problem solving mechanism, but essentially it will be adaptive enough to any new problem that it will encounter. Something like our brain. If it really happens, it will be a game changer, right? So it will be completely, it will change the way that we work, we speak, we live, and whatnot. AI is going to be powerful. Question is, whether we can use it always to our own interest or, for mankind's interest. So there has to be some kind of regulation, some kind of, controls, checks, and balances that needs to be in place. Is that in place today? Possibly not. But we are yet to expose, and we are yet to really experience the potentials. But once that is there, we'll have to be very, very careful how we are going to use it. Huge, huge. I mean, both. I mean, I try to answer the question from the enterprise's point of view, right? At the same point of time, I would try to answer the question from the job's point of view, right? So, the enterprises are again. I mean, it's a journey, right? The whole digitalization is a journey, right? And many enterprises are at many different phases or stages of that particular journey. What is happening today is what had been a hugely manual process, right? Many of them are getting automated, number one. But automation is just one part of the business, which is where we often equate it with job loss and whatnot. But imagine the accuracy that we are achieving, right? So any manual process which is tedious, repetitive, humans are error prone, they are bound to make mistakes. But if it is digitized, if it is automated, in that case, right, so the chances of making the errors will be minimal, right? and this human workforce could be used for something more useful, right, where human brain and human intelligence are still very very necessary, right? So enterprises are working on it. For example, I mean, a lot of stuffs are happening around blockchain. I just take cite one example, and we can keep on doing that. Right? For example, right? So the pesky call, so that all of us are troubled with, right? For example, I mean, on Saturday, afternoon, somebody will call you up, sir, do you need a credit card, right? You block that number. 2 weeks down the line, somebody else will call it up. Now, the TRI, our regulator, right? So they have decided that why don't we stop it? How can we stop it? Essentially by sharing data across multiple operators, telco operators, right? If they can share data, then one operator would be knowing that if the phone number from another operator is actually a pesky caller, right? And it could be stopped very very quickly, and which used to take like weeks, or sometimes, it is very difficult to stop, even if you put a DND or something like that. Yet, I mean, it was very difficult to stop. Now with this kind of data exchange, which is only available, which can only be done through a blockchain network, right? People are stopping that kind of call very very quickly, right? It's just one example how digitalization, right, can actually change the way that we operate, right? How benefits could be realized very soon and whatnot, right? I mean, connected vehicles is another example, right? And now the vehicles are so intelligent that in case you may are met with an accident, you don't have to make a call to the emergency numbers, right? Somebody will make a call to 911 or 100 in India for that matter, and you'll get help at the soonest possible time, right? So the vehicle itself will make the call. So, I mean, this kind of things were unimaginable earlier, right? Now it is happening. So, obviously, I mean, digital business is going to change the world, is going to impact our life, the way that we are living, and it's supposed to make our life far more easier. Yeah. There are two things that are happening, right? So, I mean, there is still the depth is needed, right? For example, right? So, when we are dealing with AI, we definitely need data scientists, right? But if we look at the data science as a subject, it is changing so rapidly that the data scientists will have to really evolve themselves to make themselves competitive enough in the market. For example, when I started my work, I did my PhD in natural language processing. We are mostly dealing with statistical models or rule-based systems or etc. etc. Few years down the line, the deep learning became the mainstream in any language model discussion. Now we have even moved on, right? Now people are saying that the foundational models are far more important, right? Because from the foundational model, I mean, unless and until you know it, you cannot tame the all the different kind of language situations. So question is, if somebody like me, I mean, an old person, are still stuck with that rule-based systems or statistical models, right? I'd be obsolete. I'd be totally obsolete, right? So thereby, I mean, it is going to the in the coming days, while depth is necessary, but at the same point of time, breadth is necessary. You need to move from one language, one technology to another technology rather quickly. Today, data scientists, when they are programming, right, using Spark or something, using Spark ML or something like that, they are essentially are bugged with all the architectural questions. How many vCPUs shall I use? How much memory shall I use? Right? Is it good enough? How many executors do I need to have? So that sort of architectural questions they are bugged with, right? So if somebody says, no, I'm just a data scientist, I just know how the linear regression works, right? I don't care about computation, whatnot. They are not going to listen. So thereby you need to build a depth, but you also have to be open towards the breadth of your skill, right? Without that, it will be very difficult to survive in the job market in coming days. First of all, I think that they should be proficient on at least two different technologies, right? So one is cloud. I mean, they don't have to be like an deep expert, but they should be proficient. They should be knowing how to apply it, right? So first is cloud, right? Without cloud, to become successful in digital business is almost impossible, right? So they need to be there. Second area is essentially about all the new technologies that we are talking about, especially AI, right? IoT and blockchain. Perhaps blockchain is losing its game, I believe, in my humble opinion. But at least IoT, AI, right, and some good basis on data platforms, right? Because without data, none of this works, right? So I think that these three areas, right? So if people are have some amount of proficiency, I think that will be very very attractive to them. Number one. Number two, this is IIM that we are dealing with, right? So this is Indian Institute of Management, the premier most institute of India. So I would expect that the graduates from IIM BodhGaya, right? So they will also come with a lot of business acumen. Whether they are absolutely the greatest expert in the world with respect to deep learning or something like that, I would not put that as a primary factor in choosing an IIM student. I would try to see that how a business problem in their mind could be translated into a technical solution, right? I think that is another aspect that I would look at. So thereby they will have to be very, very, good in understanding the business. What are the typical trends that there are? What are the typical business use cases that enterprises are facing challenge today? And how they can bring in technological solution. Not do not have to go into very much details, right? But how they can bring in technological solution to solve it. So I think that is the primary. I would see that that will be primary lens that I put on when I deal with IIM students. I must say that this is very very well structured and very well thought of, right? The four core areas that you mentioned, which is analytics, which is digital business marketing, and two more that you mentioned about. I mean, these are all extremely important topics today, right? And having a specialization around it will be extremely beneficial. For example, digital marketing, right? It's an area that is picking up, and people have already. I mean, nobody bothers about print ads anymore, right? But question is, how do I tame that beast called social media, right? So how can I ensure that my brands are kind of have a huge recall value in the digital mediums, right? That requires a completely new kind of way of looking at it, and it is extremely technology savvy, right? So it has to be technology enabled, right? Otherwise it cannot happen. So I think these areas are extremely, extremely useful and very, very pertinent in my humble opinion. And I would look forward to meet your students, right? So I'm pretty sure that they will be very, very bright students. So I would definitely I think this is absolutely a new age program. I mean I just want to add one more thing, and this is I think this is something that you have done fantastic thing. People often equate analytics as a silver bullet, right? So if you know analytics, you can solve any damn problem, right? So it's not the case, right? So there, it requires much better proficiency in few other areas, right? So thereby, I think that the way that you design the specializations, thinking about some of the typical business use cases such as digital marketing, right? I think that's going to be extremely beneficial for the market. Fintech is extremely hot topic, right? So and it is such a cross industry topic nowadays, right? The telcos are becoming banks, right? So they are becoming payment banks, right? Similar to the retailers, right? So they have started to show characteristics of banking, retail banking, correct? So, and all these are technology enabled, right? Where blockchain plays a huge role. Sometimes the IoT plays a huge role. All the new, fintech or the UPI related payments, right? All the way that the credit card transaction used to happen, that is changing rapidly. So, absolutely, absolutely fantastic area. And strategy and consulting, this is very close to my heart, right? The IM grads, right? So they should be at the forefront of it, right? Because that is they are supposed to shape how the business should look like in coming days for any enterprise, right? So I think this is absolutely useful. This is very well done.